Founding Fathers, Jason Sipple here. Are you caught in the undertow of financial fears? Today, let's plunge into the waters of inflation, the stock market chaos, and retirement worries. Fear not, as we unveil the keys to financial freedom with Money 3.0, privatizing your financing. It's time to remove the wave of fear and confusion and have you have a tide to prosperity. So who's here, and you guys put it in the chat, who here wants to be financially free? Who here wants to protect, to provide, to create more good in the world, to be a pillar for your family? I just got off the call with someone who referred his little sister that just graduated college and started her first job, and he jumped on the call to protect her. And now he is letting his parents know about this next. He is doing what us men are meant to do. We're meant to provide. We're meant to protect. So when we feel that fear creeping in, a lot of times it's in our mind. So Founding Fathers, once again, if you're here, if you're liking what you're learning, subscribe to the channel so you know what's coming next. Click like on this so more people get to see this and you share with more people. And more than anything, stick around because I'm going to delve into what Nelson Nash talks about, our human behaviors that are keeping us potentially keeping us stuck in our banking or out of our banking mindset and why it may be holding you back. So stay tuned, and we're going to talk about Money 3.0 and why this small shift of just changing one thing will change everything. So stick around, subscribe, Founding Fathers, welcome. Let's get started. Let's have some fun together. So let's jump into this and look at what's now. Some of these things I learned yesterday, and I was shocked. I thought it was crazy. So as Founding Fathers, we're looking to provide, to protect. And when I started this journey, I thought, what's it feel like when you're doing something with your family and you have a holiday coming up, or you have a big vacation, or you have something else, but there's that nagging feeling of stress that just lingers. I know what that feels like, fathers. I know exactly what that's like. When you're sitting there and you're just thinking, oh man, my kid just ordered the biggest hamburger and they're not going to eat it. And then they're going to want ice cream. And then they're going to toy. We want to give them all those things. But because of what we're taught, what's now, we're taught to give up control of our money. We're taught to assume the risk. So let's go through some of these points together. And as Founding Fathers, start really seeing what's there. Because once you start seeing the game you're playing, you start understanding, whoa, it's not that complicated. It really is a lot simpler than we're led to believe. So when we look into this first one, right, the US Government Accountability Office is saying that credit cards for the first time in our history are over $1 trillion. What does that show about our mindset? Remember, if we go back to the wise words of Gandhi, our beliefs become our thoughts and our thoughts become our words. So when we look, if we're over, and that leads to our actions, right? Our thoughts become our words become our actions. Our actions are telling us everything we need to know about our beliefs. It's a circle of logic. And we look at that and we say, okay, well, what is this telling us? It's telling us that we have a consumer mindset. We do not have an owner mindset. But what would it feel like if you knew that by being an owner, by just shifting things slightly, everything's going to change? So we're $1.1 trillion in debt and we're saving less than 3%. Let's look at some of the other points of what's now, right? Bloomberg yesterday, this is the one that shocked me. I shared that was shocking. I sent this over to Chris and our team, Chris Noggle and Steven, and said, hey, this is WTF material. You guys should share this. Barclays is selling off a $1.1 billion of credit card debt to someone else. That means they're making profit selling it to someone, but why are they doing that? They're doing that so they can lend more money. People want more. And as you're going to see in Parkinson's Law and some of the other things that Nelson Nash talks about in the book that changed my life, Becoming Your Own Banker, we're going to see why our psychology may be the thing that's holding us back and how can you shift it? And that's what we're going to give you today. So Founding Fathers, if you're enjoying what you're seeing here, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, like this, and stick around because we're going to dive in after what's now to what's next. So stay tuned for that. So Barclays, $1.1 billion, like no big deal. Give it off. I'm going to lend more money. And that shows us that the money is made by the lending, by the being in control of the banking system, which is all we're talking about with infinite banking. How can we take back control? How can we protect? How can we provide as men? I love this. We got freedom in the thing. We got I do. We got me, and good afternoon. Gentlemen, start your engines. We're going to have some more fun. So we go to the next thing. More than half of Americans have less than $10,000 saved. I mean, that's 330 some million Americans with less than $10,000 saved. I talked to a guy a few days ago. His business is making $1.2 million. He has no debt. He has a self-sustaining ecosystem. We'll call it a fishbowl, where he's making the money. He has a lot of money coming into the restaurant, out of the restaurant, super successful. Yet he hasn't set this system up yet, and he doesn't have any retirement. Now he's a couple years older than me, and so he's starting to think about that future. Remember, we always want to think long term. Like I'm sprinkling in some of the magic in the what's now, even though when we look, inflation's crazy. Like I almost put an example of coffee where it showed coffee was 70 cents a few years ago, and now the average cup of coffee is like $2.50. Or you go to Starbucks, it's like $18 to buy 3 coffees for your friends if you go out in the morning like I do. And then you look at this, the debt, the trap, the rat trap, right? It's like, okay, zero interest, and it snaps your hand. Or you go into a store, it never tells you how much something costs. It doesn't say, hey, this new shiny bike you want to buy, or this really cool radio, or this whatever it is that we're buying that we want. We're like, wow, that toy is cool. And it's only, it doesn't say it's $1,200 or $12,000. It says it's only $10 a month. And you don't have to pay anything for the first 90 days. You're like, I can do that. And we fall in the debt. And that's why Barclays is selling off $1.1 billion to someone else so they can lend more money to us as consumers. So let's shift that. Founding fathers, let's shift that together. Let's dive in to what's next. If you're ready to reshape your future, if you're ready to shift to a banking mindset, to be an owner, and ride the tide of financial freedom, hit the like button, subscribe, share your thoughts, put it in the chat. What are you thinking right now with what's now and what's next? Are you excited? Are you excited to be on the path to financial freedom? Are you excited for that feeling? We're all chasing a feeling. We all want to feel secure and strong and sturdy for our family. When our kids come and ask us for things, we want to say yes, even to the crazy things. Like, I want more Roblox. Sometimes I'm like, but you know what that's really teaching? It's teaching digital finance. It's teaching the value of things. Because what is money? Money is nothing more than just a means of exchange for either goods or services. So the first thing, we got to learn the game. What is the game? And pop this in the chat for me. Pop it below in the comments. What is the game of money that we've been taught to play? What is the game of money that we're playing right now? Do you know the rules? If you know the rules, you're probably winning. You're doing what Robert Kiyosaki, or you're doing what, Warren Buffett, or you're doing with the Rockefellers, or the Rothschilds, or the Morgans, or the Stanleys. When you know the rules of the game, everything slows down. Everything slows down. Some of my peers who have been doing this for a decade plus, they don't remember how not to ride a backwards bicycle. Stick those guys on a normal bicycle, they're crashing left and right. And that's one of the things we have to remember as we go on this journey. We're shifting a paradigm that's been taught to us, the misinformation, and we're going to do something different. So we got to understand the game. We have to shift from being someone that's a consumer to someone that's going to be an owner, a lender, in control. Who here, pop in the chat, give me an I if you want to be in control of your money. If you want to be in control of your freedom and your finances, give me an I in the chat. All right, an I, we got an eyeball. How much is an I? I love that, Derek. So your banking, your money mindset is going to be that compass. So let's look. So financial re-education, we've been talking through this already. I'm already telling you how to shift it. I'm already giving you some of the examples because I want to teach you how to fish. I don't want to fish for you. When someone handed me this book, because I asked for a financial philosophy, and I'll show the book here in a moment, is Becoming Your Own Banker. When I received that book and I read it, I thought what all of you are thinking or have thought at some point, this can't be true. It's too good to be true. If this was true, everyone would practice this. Everyone would do this. But we're so disillusioned. We're so taken by marketing, by the shiny object, by the get rich quick, that we keep believing that someone's going to come take care of us. We keep believing that the government, and which we're going to talk about in the mindset, the government is meant to take care of us. No, protect us, yes. To give us some security, yes. But to provide for us, no. No, that is not the relationship we have with the government. And if we understand the game, if we understand and have a financial re-education, that is the next thing. And so we're going to talk about privatizing banking. I believe that this is the future. And if not now, when? If not you, who? The future is here. The future is today. There's a study, 100,000 plus person study, that showed the key to longevity. Now, there's a lot of studies. I'm not saying this is the correct answer, but do you know, if you know this, pop it in the chat, pop it below in the comments section. If you know the number one thing that determines the length of your life, you're going to be shocked. It's going to show you how powerful something that most people underappreciate really is. What do you think? That's a little bit of context for you. So if you guys have a guess, please pop it in the chat. If you don't, I will go ahead and I'll share with you. The number one thing that determined how long you were going to live was how long you thought you were going to live. How long you thought you were going to live was the number one thing, or the study of over 100,000 people. It wasn't the smoking, it wasn't the drinking, it wasn't the weight or the exercise. Now, all those things have an impact, but it was that you believed that you were going to live. Like if you believe that, like say tragically you lost a loved one at age 55, maybe it's your father you lost at age 55, and you say, oh, he had a heart attack at 55, and you start putting that in your mind, you start thinking that you're more likely, the study showed, to die from a similar cause because of that. So just keep in mind in our re-education that we have to understand what we're thinking about is going to be our reality. Our thoughts are things. Our words do make our world. And so let's look at the next section here. So how do we, and Derek and Brad have already talked about this a little bit in the chat, how do we build, keep, and create more? And read the quote by Robert Kiyosaki there in the presentation. I mean, he's telling you what the key to financial freedom is and what that looks like for your journey. And in Money 3.0, that means asking better questions, asking what do the wealthy do that we're not doing, and taking radical ownership, saying if it's meant to be, it's up to me. Now, these things sound like just these platitudes and these things that people say, but when you start taking action, things start changing. You start seeing progress, and progress equals what, people? My fathers, progress equals happiness. So founding fathers, here together today, we're going to go through some of the obstacles in the mindset, some of the thing that is the compass to your financial freedom. And today we're confronting those things. Today we're confronting the tidal wave of fears, misinformation, and all of the stuff that's being thrown at us constantly. We're so programmed and we don't see it, and that's okay. I was there, I've been there. I'm still there at times. I still go into that scarcity place of thinking, oh man, like maybe this would be a better way. Ooh, it'd be nice to have a new vehicle. No, we have to, there's two pains in life. You guys have all heard me say this. The majority of you here have heard me say this. What are the two pains in life? And they're not marriage or taxes. So sorry, I just probably took away half the answers that are going to pop up in the chat. They are the pain of regret. There you go, Frank. Or the pain of discipline. The pain of regret and the pain of discipline. And founding fathers, when you're here every week, when you're subscribing, when you're seeing the new things that are going to come out to give you that Money 3.0 mindset, to give you that privatized banker mentality, to give you these tools. We're going to go through Parkinson's Law. We're going to go through the arrival syndrome. We're going to go through Willie Sutton's Law, which is a fun one. I read Nelson's book, that book right there, which I highly recommend everyone reads. This should be in every family, on every shelf in America. It should be something that the kid's born and they get this book. can't read yet they learn how to read in Nelson Nash's book. I'm being funny, but I'm not. It's giant font. Their eyes are great. That young, they could do it, right? We can help them with phonics by learning how to read, becoming your own banker. Then we're going to go through the golden rule, which my wife talks about Paganini all the time. She says, hey, dad decides. He's Paganini from, Latin culture. That just means he who has the money is the one that makes the rules. And then use it or lose it. And this is something that's true for everything, whether we're talking about our relationships, whether we're talking about our money. We're going to keep this talking about money, but I want you guys to start seeing how everything is the same thing. Everything is about fear or faith. Everything is about believing you can or you can't. And no matter what you determine for yourself is your truth. And all we're doing with Founding Fathers is we're showing you, hey, there's a way, a path that's better than what you've been taught. So Parkinson's Law, let's go through this. So this is going to be going back to Barclays. This is going to go back to a simple rule. And most of us think of Parkinson's Law, at least I do. This is the way I learned this in school, was Parkinson's Law meant that if your teacher gave you an assignment, how long did it take to do it? If she said it's due in a month, when would you get it done? The night before, the morning of, on the way to class? Or if it's due in a week, when do you get it done? The night before. So whatever the time frame is, we take that action and that's how we fill it up. And this is how you accelerate your life too. You decide, I pick a date, I pick a date, I pick a date, I pick a date, and I go, I take action. And so with Parkinson's Law, it's critical to know that from a money standpoint, what Nelson Nash talks about is as our income rises, our expenses rise to meet that income. And what is that doing? That just means that the new shiny thing, the great marketing that's out there, do we really need the things? Or do we want to practice regret? And this is critical. This is a critical piece. If we can't overcome Parkinson's Law, I've talked to people making $400,000-$500,000 a year that couldn't pay themselves $833 a month, which is $10,000 a year. That means they couldn't even save, if they're making 400, they couldn't even save 2.5% of their income to pay themselves. Why? Because they're consuming, they're paying everyone else. You see how what's now is interrupting what's next for a lot of people? So how do we begin to take ownership? One, we take a look, we weigh in, we say, hey, what are we spending our money on? One of my favorite questions, please write this down. Please comment in the chat below what you think of this, but it's just, what is your money doing in this situation right now? Right now, when you're getting ready to spend that money, is this moving you closer to your big ultimate dream? Or is this just a distraction? Is this staying in your system, in your financial bank? Or is this going to somebody else's bank and helping some other family get rich? My wife, my beautiful Ecuadorian warrior goddess, did not really get why I used to ask her. I'd walk by, she was a leader in her company, huge company, and I'd ask her, who are you working for? Are you working for this family that owns this company? A multi-billion-dollar company. Are you working for this family that owns the company? Or are you working for the Sipples? And after a while, it started sinking in. Oh, we have dreams, we have hopes, we have people we want to help. We want to teach more people about this so they can teach their children and their sisters and their parents. And that is the truth. So Parkinson's Law, the most critical of all the laws. If we can't get past this one, guys, I know all of you can do it because you're the 5%. You're the ones that showed up. You're the ones that are investing in the most valuable resource you have, which is right here, this real estate, the 6.5 inches between your ears, or in Nathan's case, maybe you got like 7 inches. You know, guy's got a big brain. And so the next thing we don't want to have happen is the arrival syndrome. And this is thinking that there is a destination, that we are going somewhere. Yes, you can set that goal. You can pick a date and say, I want to have X amount of money by this time. 100,000, 500,000, a million, whatever that, 10 million, whatever your goal is, you pick that date, you set that date, and you start working towards that goal. But when you get there, you can celebrate, give yourself a high five, pat yourself on the back, give yourself a hug, call someone you love and tell them. But for God's sake, don't think that you're there. There is no such thing. There's always more to learn. Like even when you start banking, the number 5 principle of all this is rethink your thinking, because as you learn, as you take action, as you do more, you're going to see new things. You're going to have new experiences and see new ways to keep all the money in your family and grow that, hey, grow that system that you're building over time. And Nelson talked about how on page 25 in his book, how that could take 20 plus years. Well, I've seen some of my mentors and peers do this in 14 years. I've seen one guy do it in 4 years. So just it's determined again by you. And how are you going to do it? So again, this goes back to we never arrive. There's always more to do. There's more to learn. Even in his 80s, 88 years old, Nelson Nash was still going out and helping people understand this, how he hadn't used a bank in 30 years for his kids' homes, for their cars. They financed everything in the family, and that's what's possible. But we start at the beginning. And then we look at companies that thought they arrived. Like the biggest one for me that popped was either Kodak, because I went to school in Rochester, and they were huge. Everyone worked for Kodak in the 90s. And fast forward, even though they invented the digital camera, 20 years later, they didn't plan, they didn't innovate, they didn't keep optimizing to serve more people. We're here to help people. It's as simple as that. Our goal is men. And so that is my baby picture. I was a pretty cool baby, Brad. So yes, we are meant to help people. Like I listened to something today. I put Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declared the Lord. Plans for you to prosper and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. We hear that. How did you guys take that? You, me. No, back then, collectively, that was a collective you. That was for all of us. Are we all going to prosper? No. Will some of us get harmed? Yes, but collectively, we're meant to lift each other up and help. I'm going to speed up a little bit because it seems like I'm going a little, I love this stuff. You guys can't tell. So founding fathers, again, here to disrupt financial literacy, here to see the mindset shifts that might be holding you back. Maybe today you're having aha. If you do, pop it below. I'd love to hear your comments about it, or go ahead and put it in the chat right now. Next one is Willie Sutton's Law. And if you look him up, Willie was a guy. He was, I think, born in 1901, died in the 80s. And when he was caught, he famously or infamously robbed 40 plus banks. And they say, Willie, why are you robbing banks? Well, that's where people keep the money. Okay. Well, Willie was onto something. He was onto something for people who want to be a privatized system, right? If we know the banks are where the money is kept and grown and lended, like what Barclays is doing, then wouldn't we want to do the same thing? And it goes a step further. In Nelson's book, and I just figured this out the other day, even though it's clear, it's explicit, but he's saying, who is, and I'm just going to ask you guys, pop it in the chat if you know, who is taking money from us legally, but really not with our permission? Who's taking money every year from us and we're willingly giving it away, but it's basically like Willie Sutton. They're basic. That's it. That's it. It's the IRS. It is. Frank got it right away. We work so hard, and they can only tax the people who are working hard, which is about half of us, because the other half expects someone to take care of them. It's up to us, founding fathers, to be the half that understands the rules of the game, that starts privatizing our money, that starts working together to educate the next generation so we can change the future for our family's family and their family's family, and forward and forward and forward. Again, think long term. Remember, everything that we're talking about is built on the infinite banking system, which is based in specially engineered whole life. And you guys might say, wait a minute, whole life? Get out of here. Dave Ramsey says that stuff's, I hate it. It sucks. Dave, this has been around longer than our tax code that started in 1913. It's been around longer than any of the government plans. And have you ever noticed that every time there's a little bit of friction among the people that the government's taxing, the government does what? They roll out a new plan to save the people. To save the people. How's that going for us? With half of Americans having less than $10,000 saved to their name. So that is part of what we have to shift. Now, again, speeding up here a little bit, the golden rule. The golden rule simply states, He who has the gold makes the rules. Well, in your life, if you're giving up control, if you're not following the first two commandments of loving God first with all your heart, mind, and soul, and then loving thy neighbor like thyself, then what happens? If you're not loving yourself after God, you're paying everyone else. It's time for you to start acting as if. If you're not already practicing this, start practicing by paying yourself an amount per either 10 times your age, 833, 1,000 or more, like 10% of what you're earning or more per month. Pay yourself first. Put it in an account that you can't touch. Make that the discipline. Don't make that a future regret. And this is to avoid the noise of all of these credit card traps, all these 0% interest, all these, hey, it's like Popeye. I'll gladly, pay you to give me a hamburger today and I'll pay you tomorrow. That never happens. It's a trap. Don't fall for the trap. Just understand if you have your own banking system, that you are the one that controls everything. And now the last rule is use it or lose it. And I pick the brain. We're talking about money specifically. But if we're not using the thing, if we're not using our bodies, what happens? Pop it in the chat right below Founding Fathers. What happens if we're not using our body? We become stiff and saggy and not as strong as we once were. We have to move, to exercise, to be active. It's the same with money. Money that sits there or water. Think of water. Let's go with water first from a natural perspective. You're not going to fish from a stale pond. You're not going to drink the water when it's got algae growing over top of the, and there's water's not flowing. Water has to stay in motion to be healthy. It's the same with our money. It has to stay in motion. So if we have our banking system, having a glorified saving account is better than not having the money protected, not having the guaranteed legacy, but it has to stay in motion. We have to move that money. We have to find ways to create leverage like the banks do. And this is all part of the learning process. And so now that we're here, now that we've seen Nelson's 5 human nature things, just laws that we have to overcome. My wife said to me yesterday, hey, I don't know if they're laws. I'm like, Parkinson's is a law, right? Willie Sutton's, it is a law. The golden rule, that is do unto others as you would to yourself, right? But the golden rule of he who has the money makes the rules. And I ask people all the time, do you believe the wealthy have more choices than most of us? The answer is almost always yes, unless I get someone who's a contrarian, which I love. I'm a contrarian myself. I want to argue about the other side of things because there's always 3 sides of every coin, right? There's the front, the back, and the side. We, as founding fathers, want to stand on the side and see both sides so we can make the best decisions. I want you guys going and looking for the problems. I want you saying what you really worry about, because with being honest with that, we can step through together and build you what you really want. Freedom. And so, founding fathers, are coming close to the end. I'm going to go through the machine quickly. What is the machine, Jason? How do we use it? It is nothing more than dividend paying, whole life insurance policy, cash rich design from a mutually owned company. Why mutual company, not a stock company? Because who's interested in a stock company? It's going to be the stockholders, the shareholders. In a mutually owned company, we, the owners of the policy, are the most important player. We are the actor. We are the director. We are the writers. And who owns more whole life than any other person or any other organization in America? The banks. Search this, bank-owned life insurance. Banks have over $182.2 billion in whole life. And I always bring this up because it's shocking. It's shocking to know that banks aren't even keeping their money in the banks like we do. I talked to someone the other day with 150 grand, and I've talked to people with more, but just this one stood out. No savings for the future. No retirement plan and $150,000 saved. Awesome job on the discipline. But what happens if that bank collapses and the governor of California isn't a banker there? You might be out. Like, yes, there's the FDIC protection, but that's kind of got to see like who's bailing who out for this. Warren Buffett, this is one of my favorite quotes. You see it a lot. If poor people would just do what rich people do, if we would just do what the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Morgans, the Stanleys, Walt Disney, Ray Kroc, Robert Kiyosaki, Tony Robbins, Joe Biden, no matter what you think of him, the man funded most of his presidential run through a series of whole life policies. If we did those things, if we did what the rich would do, then we wouldn't be poor anymore. We wouldn't be consumers anymore. We would be owners. We'd be someone to be dealt with, someone that would make the rules. We would be Paganini in a good way. We'd bring light. We are Jedis. Remember, like Yoda says, either do or you do not, there is no try. So finally, fathers, again, if you're getting some information, you're learning some new things, subscribe to the channel, share with others. The more people that we can lead, like Derek's asked me, like, hey, Jason, I want to be part of this. Frank as well, Nathan. Everyone who wants to be part of this, share this with other fathers. The goal is to inspire and educate 10 million, or the outcome, 10 million fathers and their families to avoid financial failure, to live their legacy, and to make a positive impact on the community, just to make the communities we live in strong, to give us that feeling of security, to give us more time of being with our family. That's what we all ultimately want. We want the memories, the experience. We're only here for a snap, a moment. So if you have debts, if you're looking to use your debt and turn your debt into an asset rather than a liability, this is the system. If you're looking to buy new vehicles, go on vacations, or do any other major renovations, major capital purchases, this is the plan. You want to build your privatized system, and you want to start when? Tomorrow, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? Do your research and have a call with me. Do your research, watch the 90-minute presentation, and come learn. And then if you want to create more, then from there, we'll work together to show you how you can go in the private money club, how you can go find something that you know, that you like, and that you understand. That is the creating more wealth. That is, who here wants to be a millionaire? That is the map to being a millionaire. That is what Chris and Brent's book, Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery, is about. Build, keep, create. Book a call with me. Subscribe to the channel. Blessed that you guys are here. Have a beautiful rest of your day, rest of your week. Please share the message. We've got a lot of work to do, and we're just getting started. Until next time.